Step up here. Now!
I never said I wanted to fight.
Try not to cry, just a few days in the hospital.
I said no.
He grabbed her wrist and yanked it toward the ropes.
Hey, stinking black ants! Fighting with me is an honor. You're all just good at begging and taking your prey back to your nest.
Whitney pulled back.
Step into the ring or my men will drag you in.
She looked at the four men surrounding her, at the cameras, at the smirking face of the champion. Then she stepped into the ring herself. In just a few minutes, that man would be kneeling before her, sobbing and begging for mercy. But to understand what happened next, you need to know who Whitney Adams really was. To understand how a black woman in a gray hoodie ended up in that ring with four men closing in, you have to go back 24 years. Back to a basement gym in Detroit, where the heat broke every winter and the heavy bag was patched with duct tape. That's where 12-year-old Whitney Lawson first wrapped her hands. Her coach was Walter Sullivan, a quiet old man with crooked knuckles and a kind voice. "Don't fight angry," he told her. "Fight ready." She listened. She trained 6 days a week, before school and after, mopping the gym floors to pay for her lessons. By 19, she was the National Golden Gloves Amateur Champion, 3 years running. By 22, she turned pro under the name Whitney Lawson. By 26, she held the WBC welterweight world title. By 28, she held the unified WBA belt. 26 fights, 26 wins, 22 knockouts. Then, in 2014, at 30 years old, she walked away, undefeated. No press conference, no farewell tour. She just hung up her gloves and went home. She had a husband she loved, Theo Adams, an engineer who used to bring her flowers every fight night. And she had a daughter, Maya, 6 years old, who needed her mother more than the world needed another champion. Whitney Lawson became Whitney Adams. The belts went into a closet. The name went into a footnote on a few old fight cards. Then in 2018, Theo died. Pancreatic cancer. 6 months from diagnosis to funeral. Whitney was 34. Maya was 10. Whitney remembers the funeral less than she remembers the silence in the house afterward. The way grief filled the rooms her husband used to fill with laughter. 2 years later, Maya was diagnosed with lupus. Chronic. Lifelong. The biologic injections she needed cost $3,000 a month. Insurance covered some of it. Whitney covered the rest, working night shifts cleaning offices while Maya slept. Some nights she came home and her hands were so tired she couldn't even open a jar. For 12 years, Whitney trained alone. A heavy bag bolted to the garage ceiling, speed bag in the corner, jump rope hanging from a nail. At 4 every morning, she wrapped her hands the way Walter taught her. She didn't fight anyone. She just kept her body remembering. This year, Maya turned 18, started community college, and Whitney finally had time to think about herself again. She had a plan, a women's boxing academy, self-defense for the working class, real coaching, real prices. She had the experience. She had the credentials. What she didn't have was the modern teaching playbook. That's why she walked into Pinnacle Iron Boxing Club that Tuesday morning. Not to train, to observe, to see how a high-end gym onboarded students, to take notes on the curriculum, the pricing, the structure. She brought a notebook and a pen. She wore old jeans and a gray hoodie. She did not look like a former world champion. She looked like exactly what they assumed she was, a tired mother in the wrong building. Pinnacle Iron sat in downtown Chicago. Glass walls, marble floors, championship banners hanging from the rafters. A VIP ring lit like a stage. Membership cost more than Maya's monthly medication. The man running it was Richard Brennan, 62, a former trainer who'd built his fortune around one fighter, his son. Hunter Brennan, 28, undefeated at 18-0, the #1 heavyweight contender in the world. Title bout was 11 weeks away. That morning, a sponsor camera crew was filming Hunter for a promotional reel. The producer had been clear with Richard the night before. "We need viral moments, funny, authentic, A real character on the floor. Anything that makes Hunter look untouchable. Richard had nodded. Hunter had grinned. They had been waiting all morning for the right target to walk through the door. When Whitney crossed the threshold, the producer pointed his lens at her and whispered to the cameraman, "Get the gray hoodie. She's perfect." Hunter saw her, cracked his knuckles, and started walking. The receptionist looked up, smiled politely. "Welcome to Pinnacle Iron. How can I—" "What's a janitor doing in my lobby?" Hunter's voice cut across the marble floor before he'd even reached the desk. Whitney turned. He was 6'4", white t-shirt straining across the chest, hands on his hips, grinning at the camera over his shoulder. "I'm here to ask about classes," Whitney said. "Classes." He repeated it like the word was a joke. "For what? Water aerobics? You lost, sweetheart?" The receptionist froze. The cameras swiveled. "I'd like a brochure," Whitney said, "and 5 minutes of your manager's time." Hunter leaned both elbows on the desk, blocking the tablet she was reaching for. "My manager's busy, my dad, the owner, real busy. You want to know what's in our brochure? Cardio, boxercise, stuff for ladies who want to feel young again. That you, ma'am? You want to feel young again?" The crew laughed. Whitney's grip tightened on her notebook. "Sir, please," the receptionist started. "Shut up, Megan." The girl flinched, looked down at her keyboard. She stopped talking. "I'll come back another day," Whitney said. She turned to leave. Hunter stepped in front of her. Nah. You walked in. You stay. Camera's rolling. Don't be shy. Move." "Or what?" "I said move." He smiled wider. He didn't move. For a single heartbeat, Whitney felt 20 years fall away. Every man who'd told her where she didn't belong. Every coach who'd said women didn't have the lungs. Every promoter who'd asked her to smile more for the poster. She felt the old fire light up in her chest. She put it out. She breathed. Then Hunter snapped his fingers. 4 men came off the wall. Tyler, Jackson, Logan, Beckett, all sparring partners, all on his payroll. They closed in slow, fanning out in a loose half circle, cutting her off from the door, cutting her off from the receptionist, cutting her off from any way out that didn't go through them. Whitney's eyes moved across all 4, then back to Hunter. He bent down close to her ear, voice dropped to a whisper only the nearest camera could catch. "Welcome to Pinnacle Iron, sweetheart. You're not leaving." What happened next took 15 minutes. Hunter put his hand on Whitney's shoulder and turned her around like a tour guide. "Let me show you the facility," he said, "since you're not going anywhere." The crew followed, cameras up, producer behind them, whispering, "Get her face, get her face." He walked her to the heavy bag in the middle of the gym floor. 200 pounds, dyed black, hanging on a chain that creaked when it moved. "This here is a heavy bag," he said, slapping the leather. "Heavy means it weighs more than your gym membership." The crew snorted. "Touch it," he said. "Go on, touch it." She didn't move. "I said touch it." He grabbed her hand by the wrist and slapped her palm against the leather. Filmed it. Posted it later with the caption, "Mom tries boxing, day 1. Whitney pulled her hand back. He let it go. He walked her next to the speed bag. "This one's a speed bag. We use it for hand-eye coordination. You probably won't get it. Most ladies don't." He smacked the bag himself. Rapid, showy, drum roll fast. The bag blurred. He grinned. "See? That's what hands look like. Mine, anyway. Yours probably never moved that fast in your life." Whitney looked past him at the wall clock. 8:47 a.m. Up on the second floor of Pinnacle Iron, behind a wall of one-way glass, Richard Brennan was eating egg whites and watching the whole thing on a tablet. He wore a custom suit, a diamond pinky ring, a wireless earpiece. The sponsor producer sat across from him, also watching, also smiling. "This is gold," the producer said. "Authentic, no script, just attitude. Tell him to get her in the ring." Richard touched his earpiece. "Get her closer to the ring." Downstairs, Hunter touched his ear, nodded once, and turned back to Whitney with a wider smile. "Now, ma'am, let me show you the trophy wall. Maybe you'll learn something." He walked her past a glass case full of belts, medals, and championship photos. Hunter Brennan in every frame. Hands raised, knockouts, magazine covers. "That's me," he said. 18-0. #1 contender in the world. "You ever heard of me?" "No." He stopped walking, looked at her. "What did you just say?" "I said no. I've never heard of you." The crew went quiet for half a second. Then someone behind a camera started giggling. Hunter's face went red. "Maybe that's because you've been mopping floors your whole life, sweetheart." He grabbed her elbow harder this time. "Now, let me show you the men's locker room." "I'm not interested." "It's part of the tour." He walked her past the doorway. 3 men inside in towels turned around at the wrong moment. One of them swore. The crew was howling now. Whitney pulled her arm free. "Don't touch me again." "Or what, sweetheart? Or what?" "You heard me." She walked back toward the main floor, toward the front doors, toward the daylight. The 4 men cut her off. Tyler stepped left. Jackson stepped right. Logan blocked the front. Beckett shut the side door behind him. She stopped in the middle of the floor. The VIP ring was 20 feet to her right. The front doors were 40 feet behind her. There were no good directions. Hunter caught up, stood in front of her. "You don't have to do this," she said. Her voice was quieter now, almost a kindness. "Step aside. I'll walk out. We both forget about it." He laughed in her face. "Forget about it? Sweetheart, this is going to be the best week of my career. 2 million views by Friday. You're not forgettable. You're content." Up in the office, the producer leaned forward. "Tell him. Ring. Now. We're losing the light." Richard spoke into the earpiece. "Ring. Now." Hunter heard it, grabbed Whitney's elbow. "You're coming with me." "Let go of my arm." First refusal. Loud enough for every phone to catch. "Or what?" She tried to wrench free. He held on. The crew closed tighter. "I haven't signed any waiver. This isn't legal." Second refusal. Clear. Calm. He didn't stop. He walked her, step by step, toward the championship ring. Past the heavy bags, past the speed bags, past the row of trophies in glass cases. Phones came up everywhere. Gym members, sparring partners, even staff. Some of them looked uncomfortable. None of them stopped him. Megan, the receptionist, watched from the front desk, hands shaking on her keyboard. She picked up her phone, put it down, picked it up again, texted her sister. "This is wrong. I'm scared." For one single second, walking past the trophies, Hunter felt something. Not regret, not exactly. A flicker. Something behind Whitney's eyes that he didn't recognize. Not fear, not panic. Something steadier. Something that watched him the way a person watches a glass they know is about to fall. It bothered him. He couldn't say why. He'd seen scared faces before. Hers wasn't one of them. He shook it off. Cameras were rolling. Cameras were always rolling. You don't back down on camera. You finish the bit. Dad was watching. Dad always finished the bit. At the edge of the ring, he stopped. He picked up a pair of red 16-ounce gloves from the apron. He shoved them against her chest. "Put 'em on." "No, I'm leaving. Get out of my way." Third refusal. Recorded by every angle. "Put them on, or I drag you in there and put them on for you." The crew formed a wall behind her. She could feel them at her back. No exit. No witnesses willing to help. No phone call. No police. No reasoning. She looked at the gloves. Looked at the ring. Looked at Hunter one more time. Long, slow, careful, like she was memorizing his face. Then she set her notebook down on the ring apron. Face up. Pen on top. She pulled her hair back into a tight ponytail. She rolled her shoulders once, and she reached out and took the gloves from his hand. She put the gloves on slow, Velcro tight, the way Walter used to do them. Then she stepped through the ropes. The crowd around the ring fell quiet at exactly the wrong moment for Hunter. The kind of quiet that happens when something is about to be funny, or something is about to be terrible, and nobody yet knows which. Hunter turned his back to her, started playing to the cameras, throwing fake jabs at the air, hyping the crowd. He had about 30 seconds before whoever was going to ring the bell rang it. In those 30 seconds, Whitney's mind went very quiet. She heard Walter Sullivan's voice from a basement in Detroit. "Don't fight angry. Fight ready." She heard Theo from their wedding, whispering into her ear during the first dance. "You don't owe anyone proof of what you are." She heard the click of math in her own head. 4 exits blocked. Police couldn't get inside in under 8 minutes. Maya at the kitchen table. Hospital bill due Tuesday. This wasn't anger. This wasn't pride. This was necessity. Defend proportionately. Stop the moment the threat stops. No more, no less. She felt her phone in her pocket. She'd already texted Maya from the hallway. "Running late. Love you." She rolled her shoulders once. The body remembered. Hunter turned around. Somebody rang the bell. For 90 seconds, Whitney did nothing. She stood in the center of the ring with her gloves at her hips. Not in a stance, not bouncing, not even breathing hard, just standing. Hunter circled her, snapping jabs at the air. "Come on, sweetheart, throw a punch. Show us what you got." The crew cheered him. The cameras stayed glued to her. She didn't move. A few people in the crowd started to laugh, but not the way Hunter wanted. They were laughing at how silly he looked, dancing around an old woman who wouldn't dance back. One of his own sparring partners covered his mouth. His face went red. He committed. He stepped in hard, loaded his hips, threw a straight right cross at her face. Full power, full weight, the punch he'd ended 18 pros with. The punch he was supposed to win the world title with in 11 weeks. Here's the part everyone would rewatch a million times. Second one, Whitney slipped. Not back, not down, outside. A clean, narrow 6-inch shift of the head, the kind of slip you only get from 20 years of drilling. Hunter's fist passed through the air where her cheekbone had been a heartbeat earlier. Second two, she pivoted. Left foot pivoted 90 degrees, hips squared to his unprotected side. He was still leaning forward from the missed punch. His ribs were wide open. His right hand was high. His chin was tucked the wrong way. Second three. She threw a left hook to the body. Full hip rotation. Knuckles up. The way Walter taught a 12-year-old in a Detroit basement gym in 2002. The hook landed clean against Hunter's floating rib. The kind of shot that doesn't bruise so much as light a fire in your liver. Somewhere in the crowd, a gym member who'd boxed amateur recognized the form. His mouth fell open. Second four. Hunter bent sideways at the waist. His right hand dropped. His mouth opened in a sound he didn't choose to make. Second five. She threw a right cross. To the same spot. The exposed liver. Countershot. Half a step in. Knuckles aligned. Body weight through the punch the way a hammer drives a nail. Second six. Hunter dropped to one knee, then his other knee. Then both hands hit the canvas. Then he retched. The whole gym went silent. Hunter tried to push himself up. Couldn't. The liver shot had hit a nerve cluster that takes 30 long seconds to obey commands again. He was conscious. He just couldn't move. His body had been switched off from the chest down. Whitney took 2 steps back, hands open, not in a stance, not celebrating, just watching. Hunter rolled onto his side, looked up at her, and then, slowly, painfully, he raised both hands toward her, palms out, shaking. "Please," his voice cracked. "Please. I'm sorry. Don't hit me again." Tears rolled down his face. Real tears, not stage tears, not camera tears, the kind that come up when the body decides without the brain. The cameras zoomed in on his ruined face. Nobody made a sound. Somewhere in the back, the gym's ceiling fan spun loud enough to hear. Whitney did not move closer. She did not move away. "I'm not going to hit you," she said. Her voice was level, almost gentle. "I told you 3 times I didn't want this." Hunter folded forward, forehead on the canvas, shoulders shaking. I was wrong. I was wrong. Please, don't. A piece of him broke right there on camera. 18-0, world ranked. The man who'd been promising to end careers all morning, crying into the canvas of his own ring. Behind the one-way glass on the second floor, Richard Brennan slammed his hand down on his desk so hard the egg whites jumped off the plate. He grabbed his earpiece, screamed into it. All of them, get in there, now. Make it look like she started it. The four men heard it. They didn't hesitate. Tyler came over the top rope first, then Jackson, then Logan, then Beckett. 4 professional sparring partners, all trained by Hunter's camp, all in fighting shape, all entering the ring at the same time. No referee, no rules, no mercy in their eyes. One of the cameramen, a kid named Kyle, 23, on his first job, quietly switched his rig to the backup memory card and didn't tell anyone. He kept rolling. Whitney stepped to the center of the ring. She didn't put her gloves up. She just lowered her chin half an inch. Tyler reached her first. Infighter. Came in hard, hooking. Whitney slipped sideways, used his own momentum to walk him into Jackson's path. Jackson stumbled. Tyler turned, tried to recover. She threw a double-up cross, 2 right hands, one after the other, both to the chin, crisp, mechanical, like a heartbeat. Tyler went stiff and fell sideways onto the canvas. Out. Jackson swung an overhand right while she was still turning. She slipped inside it, under his arm, and dropped a left rip to his ribs. Right uppercut to the solar plexus. He folded like a lawn chair and stayed folded. Logan came in southpaw, left hand forward. She switched her own stance, right foot back, left foot forward, mirrored him exactly. Old champion's trick. Logan threw the left straight. She slipped, threw a countercross to his temple. He dropped sideways and didn't move. Beckett was the last man. He hesitated. He'd watched 3 of his friends go down in under 2 minutes. His hands stayed up, but his feet didn't move. Whitney lowered her hands, looked him in the eye. "Walk out," she said. "I won't chase." He stood there. 6 seconds. 10. The whole gym held its breath. Then he chose. He stepped in, threw a hook. She slipped it, threw one straight right hand to his chin. He dropped without a sound. 10 minutes after the bell had rung, Whitney stood alone in the center of the ring. Hunter was still on his knees, head down, weeping quietly. Tyler was on his back. Jackson was on his side. Logan was sprawled face down. Beckett was unconscious. Whitney had one small cut above her left eyebrow. That was it. She walked to the ring edge, stepped through the ropes, picked up her notebook from the apron, pen on top, exactly where she'd left it. The crew that had blocked her exit 15 minutes earlier was gone. They had moved aside without anyone telling them to. She walked toward the front doors. At the threshold, she stopped, turned around. "I came here to learn how you teach," she said. Her voice carried across the silent gym. "I'm leaving knowing exactly what not to do." Then she walked out. Kyle, the kid with the backup memory card, slipped it into his pocket, uploaded it from his car. Within 2 hours, the clip was everywhere. Hashtag try not to cry. Hashtag Lawson Adams. Hashtag Ring of Her Own. By midnight, 18 million views. That night, a black sedan rolled to a stop outside Whitney's apartment building in South Shore. Richard Brennan sat in the back seat. In his lap was a thick envelope. On his face was a thin, careful smile. Whitney didn't open her door. She watched through the peephole as Richard Brennan got out of the sedan. He climbed her stairs slow, knocked twice, spoke through the wood. "Miss Adams, I'm willing to make this go away. Right now, tonight. Walk away from that footage and I'll write you a check that solves every problem you have." Whitney didn't speak. $40,000, cash, tonight. We both forget today happened. She didn't open the door. "You want to do this the hard way? Fine. Tomorrow morning my lawyers are going to ruin you. Your name, your daughter's name, your future. Pick a path." She heard him wait. She heard him give up. She heard his shoes go back down the stairs. In the morning, the path was already picked for her. By 7 a.m., Pinnacle Iron's PR team had released a new clip, edited, 2 minutes long. It started at the exact moment Whitney's first punch landed on Hunter's ribs. It cut out every refusal, every grab, every threat. The audio was scrubbed. Soft, sad piano played underneath. The caption read, "Heavyweight contender attacked at his own gym by con artist with hidden pro record." By 8 a.m., talk radio had a name for her. The boxer who lied her way in. A morning show host called her a predator. A retired commentator called for criminal charges. The clip got 6 million views before lunch. By 9 a.m., Richard Brennan's lawyers had filed papers. Civil suit, $4.2 million in damages for fraudulent entry under false pretenses, intent to assault, and reputational harm to a brand contender. Criminal complaint, 4 counts of assault and battery, 1 count of conspiracy. By 10 a.m., Whitney's name was the second most searched in America. Maya was in her chemistry class at the community college when her phone started buzzing. By the time class ended, her Instagram had 2,000 new comments. Some called her mother a thug. Some called her worse. One person had found her dorm address and posted it. Another sent her a video of Hunter on his knees, edited to make it look like he was praying. Maya sat in the hallway and called her mother. "Mom, I'm okay. I'm not going to read any of it, but, Mom, there's a lot. Stay on campus. Don't take the bus tonight. I'll come pick you up." "Mom, are you okay?" Whitney looked out her kitchen window. There were 3 news vans parked at the curb. "I'm okay, baby. We're going to be okay." She hung up, sat down at the kitchen table, opened a letter that had come in the mail an hour earlier. The letter was from her health insurance company. Maya's lupus medication, the $3,000 a month biologic, was under active review pending coverage verification. That was the polite phrase. The plain one was, "We are not going to pay for your daughter's medicine while you are in the news." The next letter, opened 5 minutes later, was from her bank. Her small business loan application, the one she'd been working on for 18 months to open the Lawson Adams Boxing Academy, was suspended, pending the resolution of ongoing legal matters. Whitney read both letters twice, folded them, put them in a drawer, made herself a cup of coffee. Across town, in his father's penthouse office, Hunter Brennan was watching the same edited clip on the same television his father used for sponsor pitches. He hadn't slept. He still couldn't lift his arms above his shoulders without pain. His liver hurt every time he breathed. He turned to his father. "Dad, don't." "Dad, she refused 3 times. I dragged her in. I dragged her in front of every camera in the gym. I have it on my own phone." Richard didn't look up from his laptop. "Delete it." "What?" "The video on your phone. Delete it. Now." "Dad, it doesn't matter what happens, son. It matters what people see. Stay on script. We've built this for 20 years. Don't throw it away because your liver hurts." Hunter looked down at his own hands. The hands he'd been told his whole life were the most valuable things he owned. They were shaking. They had been shaking since he'd gotten up off the canvas. Something in him cracked then. A small, quiet crack, the kind nobody else could hear. He didn't say anything else. He went into the bathroom and threw up. That afternoon, a woman named Olivia Sterling read the headlines from her office in the West Loop. Civil rights attorney, 38 years old, 12 years of public defender work before going private. She watched the original clip, the long one Kyle had uploaded, 3 times. Then she picked up the phone and called Whitney. "Miss Adams, my name is Olivia Sterling. I'd like to represent you, pro bono. I think what was done to you was a crime, and I think we can prove it. Are you willing to meet?" They met that night, at Whitney's kitchen table, with Maya home from class and a pot of coffee between them. Olivia spent 4 hours just listening. By the next morning, the team had started to form. Walter Sullivan flew in from Detroit. 70 years old now, still carried his coaching bag, hugged Whitney without saying anything for a full minute. Veronica Brown drove up from Atlanta, Whitney's old opponent, the one Whitney had concussed in 2012 but stepped back from when she could have ended her, now running a women's gym of her own. She walked into Whitney's apartment, dropped her duffel, and said, "Tell me who I'm hitting." Whitney smiled for the first time in 2 days. "Nobody. We're doing this in court." They built the file together. 3 angles of uncut footage. The sponsor crew's main feed, Kyle's backup card, and a member's phone that had captured the entire 15-minute escalation. Megan, the receptionist's contemporaneous text to her sister, time-stamped. Whitney's notebook, photographed page by page. Lesson plans, pricing structures, intake form drafts. Proof she had come there to observe, not to fight. Her pro record, pulled from BoxRec. Public information, never hidden, just never volunteered. Walter's old training logs. Veronica's testimony about Whitney's restraint in 2012. By Friday night, they had a binder thick enough to stop a bullet. Olivia filed for a probable cause hearing, faster than waiting for a trial. The hearing was set for the following Wednesday morning. Presiding, Judge Margaret Holloway, 58 years old, famous for 2 things: never letting a celebrity defendant smile at her, and never being late to her own courtroom. The night before the hearing, Olivia got an email at 11:18 p.m. from a man she'd never met. Subject line: "I have what you need." It was signed Gabriel Whitman, a senior coach who had quit Pinnacle Iron the day after the incident. He had files. He wanted to testify. He wanted to meet her in the courthouse parking lot at 7 a.m. Olivia forwarded the email to Whitney. Whitney read it twice, then put her phone down on the kitchen table and looked at it for a long time. Then she went to bed. Tomorrow morning, in front of a judge who didn't smile, the second fight would begin. At 7 a.m. on Wednesday, Olivia met Gabriel Whitman in the courthouse parking lot. He was 35, tall, tired. He had a leather folder under his arm and dark half-moons under his eyes. He hadn't slept either. "I have all of it," he said. 3 years' worth. Every time they did this. Every email, every video, every name. Olivia opened the folder, looked at the first page, closed it. "Mr. Whitman, are you prepared to be torn apart on the stand today?" "Yes, ma'am." "Then follow me." At 9 a.m., the courtroom filled. Reporters in back. Hunter and Richard at the defense table. Expensive suits, expressionless. Whitney at the plaintiff's table. Gray blazer borrowed from Olivia, hands folded on the wood. Maya in the second row, holding Walter's hand. Judge Margaret Holloway walked in at 9 a.m. on the dot. Black robe, reading glasses on a chain. She did not smile. "Counsel, let's begin." Olivia stood up. She had a 60-inch monitor wheeled to the center of the room. She loaded the unedited footage from Kyle's backup card. She played it frame by frame. 45 minutes of the original morning. Every shove, every taunt, every refusal. She paused on the moment Hunter grabbed Whitney's wrist at the heavy bag. "Your Honor, first unwanted physical contact. Initiated by Mr. Brennan. Time-stamped 8:43 a.m. She paused on Whitney pulling her arm free at the locker room. Time-stamped 8:51 a.m. First verbal refusal. "Don't touch me again." She paused on Whitney saying, "I haven't signed any waiver. This isn't legal." Time-stamped 8:58 a.m. Second refusal. She paused on Whitney saying, "No, I'm leaving. Get out of my way." Time-stamped 9:02 a.m. Third refusal. Recorded by every angle in this exhibit. The defense attorney objected twice. Holloway overruled both. By the time Olivia finished, 2 members of the jury pool watching from the gallery were openly crying. One reporter in the back row had put down her pen and stopped writing. She called her first witness. Veronica Brown took the stand, stated her name, stated her record, stated her relationship to the plaintiff. "Ms. Brown," Olivia said, "in 2012 you fought Whitney Lawson for the unified welterweight title." "Yes, ma'am." "Tell the court what happened in the 8th round." Veronica looked at Whitney for a long second, then back at the judge. "She caught me with a left hook, concussed me. I was on the ropes. I couldn't see out of my right eye. She had me. She had me clean. She could have ended my career in 3 more punches. What did she do instead? She stepped back. She put her hands down. She looked at the ref and said, "Check her." The ref called it. She gave me my career back, man. 12 years ago. I never forgot. Some fighters take a career. Some give it back. There are not many like her. The courtroom held still. Olivia called Walter Sullivan next. He climbed the witness stand slowly, took his cap off, and held it in his lap. "Mr. Sullivan, please state for the court Ms. Adams's professional record." Walter cleared his throat. 26 fights, 26 wins, 22 by knockout. National Golden Gloves amateur champion in 2001, 2002, and 2003. WBC welterweight world champion in 2010. Unified WBA title in 2012. Retired undefeated in 2014. Walked away to raise her daughter. Never sold a single tell-all interview. Never charged a coaching fee. Never came back. Holloway took her glasses off, set them on the bench, looked at Whitney for the first time. Did not speak. Then Olivia called Gabriel Whitman. He sat down, took out the folder, and lit the fuse. "Mr. Whitman, you were a senior coach at Pinnacle Iron from 2019 to last Thursday, correct?" "Correct." "Why did you quit?" "Because of what they made Whitney Adams. Because I'd seen it before. 6 times. The courtroom went absolutely still. "Explain that to the court, please." Gabriel opened his folder, pulled out a stack. 6 victims, 3 years. Every one of them was a woman, or older, or both. Every one of them walked into our gym for legitimate reasons. Every one of them was humiliated on camera for sponsor content. Their names, Your Honor: Phyllis Coleman, age 58, came to inquire about her grandson's classes. Renata Boggs, age 44, came as a guest of a paying member. Daria Whitfield, age 61, came to drop off a delivery. Esme Trent, age 48. Cassandra Mead, age 39. Latoya Green, age 53. All targeted, all filmed, all compensated to stay quiet. He set the names down, pulled out the next stack. Internal emails. From the sponsor producer to Richard Brennan, the morning of Whitney Adams's visit. Quote, "We need an underdog gets schooled moment today. The weaker the target, the better the engagement." Reply from Richard Brennan, 7 minutes later. Quote, "Target acquired. Will deliver. Sent at 8:21 a.m., 18 minutes before Ms. Adams walked through the door." Hunter Brennan, sitting at the defense table, put his face in his hands. Richard Brennan stared straight ahead at nothing. The defense attorney rose to object. Holloway waved him back down before he opened his mouth. "Sit down, counsel." He sat. Olivia called Whitney last. Whitney took the stand. Her hands stayed folded in her lap. Olivia asked one question. "Miss Adams, in round 1, after you hit Mr. Brennan with the second liver shot, you stopped. You had a second hand free. He was on the canvas. Why didn't you finish him?" Whitney looked at the judge, at Maya, at Hunter, whose face was still in his hands. "Because I know what too far looks like." Her voice was quiet, but every word reached the back wall. "I spent 20 years training my hands to know when to stop. 20 years learning that the punch you choose not to throw says more about who you are than the one you throw. I walked into that gym with a notebook, not gloves. I went there to learn how to teach my daughter's generation to defend themselves. He didn't beat a fighter that day, Your Honor. He woke one up. And the first thing she did was choose not to break him, even when she could have." The courtroom went silent for 10 long seconds. Holloway put her glasses back on, picked up her gavel. "Civil suit dismissed with prejudice. Criminal complaint denied. I am referring this matter to the State Athletic Commission for emergency review and to the District Attorney's Office for possible charges against Pinnacle Iron's leadership. We're adjourned." She brought the gavel down once. Whitney closed her eyes. Maya started crying in the second row. Walter put his arm around her. Hunter Brennan did not lift his face from his hands. When Olivia and Whitney walked out of the courthouse 20 minutes later, they stopped at the top of the steps. Below them, lining the sidewalk all the way down the block, stood dozens of women. Some old, some young, some in scrubs from the hospital across the street, some in cleaning uniforms, some in business suits, some in hijabs, some in workout gear, some holding their daughters by the hand. They were silent. They held handwritten signs. The first one read, "We were watching." The second one read, "Teach us too." The third one was held by a 61-year-old woman named Daria Whitfield, and it just read, "Thank you." Real talk. This story honestly messed me up. Because we all walk past a Whitney every day. Quiet woman, gray hoodie, head down. And we don't notice her until someone else underestimates her. That's what gets me. The world shouldn't need a knockout to see a whole person. The cameras stayed on the women on the courthouse steps for a long time. Whitney walked down to them. She didn't make a speech. She just hugged Daria Whitfield, then Phyllis, then every woman who'd come to stand. By that afternoon, the floor had started moving. The WBC stripped Hunter Brennan of his #1 contender ranking by 4 p.m. The title bout was cancelled by 6. By the next morning, 4 major sponsors, a sports drink, an athletic apparel brand, a watch company, and a luxury car maker, had pulled their deals from the Brennan camp. Their statements all said variations of the same thing. We do not tolerate the targeting of vulnerable people for content. By Friday, Richard Brennan had resigned as owner of Pinnacle Iron. By the following Monday, the State Athletic Commission had suspended the gym's license pending investigation. By the end of the month, all 6 previous victims had been formally compensated through a class action settlement Olivia negotiated for them, funded entirely by the sale of Pinnacle Iron to a women-led ownership group 6 months later. Whitney's bank approved her business loan the day after the hearing. Her insurance company restored Maya's lupus medication within 72 hours. The medication arrived in a small refrigerated package. Maya cried in the kitchen. Whitney made her tea. 3 weeks later, Hunter Brennan called Whitney's lawyer and asked for a meeting. He came alone. No cameras, no father. He wore a plain hoodie. He sat at her kitchen table with his hands in his lap. "I'm not here to ask for forgiveness," he said. His voice was hoarse. "I don't deserve any. I'm here to say, I know what I did. I know who I dragged into that ring. I know I would have done it again the next morning if you hadn't stopped me. And I'm sorry. For all of it. For the women before you. For my own silence. For the fact that I had to be on the canvas to see what was always in front of me." Whitney let him finish. Then she let the silence sit for a while. Finally, she said, "Your father spent his whole life building you. Spend the rest of your life building yourself. Not forgiveness. Direction." Hunter nodded once. He left without saying anything else. A coalition of community gyms in 11 states approached Whitney the week after the hearing. "We want what you have," they said. They didn't mean money. They meant whatever she'd been carrying around in that notebook. She opened the doors of the Lawson Adams Boxing Academy on a Saturday morning in the Bronzeville neighborhood of Chicago. The location was deliberate. Cheap rent, working families, within walking distance of 3 high schools. She'd kept the structure simple. Saturday mornings, free self-defense classes for women, no questions asked. Tuesdays and Thursdays, paid pro-track coaching for serious students. Walter ran the heavy bag drills. Veronica flew in once a month to lead master classes. Maya was there on opening day, healthy, 18, hair pulled back, standing at the front desk in a t-shirt with the Academy's logo on it, handing out registration notebooks to every woman who walked through the door. Whitney saw her from across the room. The first woman in line, 54 years old, gym bag in one hand, daughter's hand in the other, took her notebook from Maya, said thank you, walked to the locker room. Whitney stood there for a second, watched her daughter handing out the same kind of notebook she'd carried into Pinnacle Iron that Tuesday morning. The circle completed itself without her saying anything. That night, after the last student left and the lights came down, Whitney stayed. At 5 a.m. the next morning, the academy was empty. She was alone in it. She sat on a bench by the ring, pulled out the same hand wraps Walter had given her in 2002, wrapped her hands the way he'd taught her. Slow, careful, knuckles first, wrist last. Then she stood up. The women would start arriving at 6. 1 month after the hearing, Lawson Adams Boxing Academy had opened doors in 9 cities: Chicago, Detroit, Atlanta, Houston, Memphis, Cleveland, Baltimore, St. Louis, Oakland. The model was the same in every location. Free Saturday self-defense classes for women, paid pro track Tuesday and Thursday, no questions asked, no judgment passed. Within 6 weeks, the waiting list for Saturday classes was 3 months long in every city. State athletic commissions in 3 states, Illinois, New York, and Georgia, drafted new regulations banning unsanctioned in-gym matches and requiring sponsor content disclosure for any filmed interaction with non-members. People started calling the legislation the Lawson Rule. It passed in 2 of the 3 states by the end of the year. Boxing journalists who had spent decades looking the other way wrote long apology columns. Some of them meant it. The phrase "ring of her own" started showing up everywhere. On t-shirts, on podcast titles, on the back wall of community gyms from Brooklyn to Sacramento, on a hand-painted sign outside a small gym in Oakland that read just 3 words: "Walk in anyway." Women started using it as code for the moment they decided to stop apologizing for being underestimated. A college freshman wrote a paper on it. A documentary crew started shooting one. Hunter Brennan disappeared from boxing for 12 months. He went into anger management. He took a job training kids at a community center 2 zip codes from where his father had built Pinnacle Iron. The kids called him Coach Hunter. None of them knew his record. When he came back to the amateur circuit a year later, it was under a new coach, in a smaller gym, fighting at a different weight class, with no sponsors and no cameras. He never asked Whitney to attend. He never used the family name on a fight poster again. Richard Brennan was indicted 6 months after the hearing. He pled out. He served time. Nobody named a wing of any gym after him. Megan, the receptionist, found a new job in 8 days. She received a personal thank you note from Whitney that she still keeps in her wallet. Kyle, the cameraman with the backup memory card, was hired as the in-house videographer for the Lawson Adams Academy. He still has the original card in a safety deposit box. Veronica Brown's gym in Atlanta has a wall now. A wall full of photos of the women who walked into a Lawson Adams class on day 1 and didn't walk back out the same. Daria Whitfield's photo is on that wall. Phyllis Coleman's is too. Maya finished her freshman year on the dean's list. She works the front desk on Saturdays. She's thinking about studying sports law. Whitney still wakes up at 4 a.m. every morning. She still wraps her hands the way Walter taught her in 2002. She still shadow boxes in the dark for an hour before sunrise. But now the gym fills up at 6. I keep coming back to this. She had him, fully on the canvas, and she still chose to teach instead of finish. Most people would have taken the easy headline. She took the harder one, the one no camera ever catches. That's why this story wouldn't leave me alone. Now, your turn. Drop the name of someone in your life the world has underestimated. A mother, a coworker, a neighbor, the lady on the bus you walked past too fast. Put their name in the comments. Let me read them. I read all of them. Share this video with the woman in your life who's still training in her garage, the one nobody's clapping for yet. She'll know what you mean. Send it to her quietly. Just say, "This made me think of you." That's enough. And if a story about quiet strength is the kind of story you want more of, subscribe. Stories like Whitney's don't get told often enough. We're trying to fix that, one story at a time. She came to take notes. She left having taught everyone in the room, including the man who thought he was the teacher.